Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to the first episode. That's right, it's a new month, new theme show of the month. The first episode of Back to School, my favorite 30 albums of my high school years. So this is going to be another one of those kind of you guys play along theme shows for the month of September here. It's Back to School month. Kids going back to grade school, high school, college, whatever, maybe for the first time, maybe just continuing on with their education. So a lot of people were asking people, why don't you do a show that's kind of themed on the whole back to school thing? So I thought long and hard about it, and I was like, well, you know what, how about taking a look, and I've had to kind of go deep and really think about this, go and take a look at what I feel were the most played albums by me during my high school years. So my 30 favorite albums that I listened to during high school. They didn't have to come out during those 4 years, but these were the albums that I went to the most, the ones that I listened to the most throughout my 4 years of college. I mean, my 4 years of high school. And those 4 years were 1980 to 1984, right? So what I'm asking everybody at home to do is put together your list of the 30 most played albums for you in those 4 years you went to school, whatever those years might be. Could be 90 to 94, could be 72 to 76, whatever your 4 years are, go back and think about what the 30 most played, your favorite 30 albums were during those 4 years. Put them in a list. Each and every day we're going to reveal one more of our 30 and tell a little history about it, right? So how we got into this album, why this album was so played. So it's kind of like a little bit of storytelling here in addition to, really thinking about and talking about our favorite albums. So, there's many of these that aren't going to be any surprise to a lot of people who've been following me on the channel for a while, but I've talked about a lot of albums that were favorites of mine in the early 80s during, my school days. So here I'm going to just hone in on the 30. I'm also going to do another rule for myself. You don't have to do this at home, but I'm only going to pick 2 albums from any band. No more than 2 albums from any band. So because, it would be really easy for this band I'm going to talk about today to, list 5 or 6 or 7 of their albums. I don't want to do that, right? I want to just limit to 2 per band because otherwise, the list is 60, 70, 80 long, right? And so with all that being said, and these are going to be in no real order. I'm just going to haphazardly give them to you throughout the month. The early episodes are my least favorites out of these. It's just, it's going to be all over the map. So this particular album that I acquired in 1980 actually came out the decade prior, 10 years prior. It was released September 18th, 1970 in the UK, January 7th, 1971 here in the US, Vertigo in the UK, Warner Brothers here in the States, and that album is Paranoid, excuse me, by Black Sabbath. It's quite early this morning. I always have the post-nasal drip first thing in the morning. It's difficult every day. Been dealing with it my whole life. Yeah, this was the first Black Sabbath album I ever got. I acquired this in a trade with my good friend Dave at the time. It's a great story because, at the time, I was getting into heavier music to an extent. I was a Kiss fan. Right, so I like Kiss. That was probably the most rockin' band that I was listening to at the time. But I also like, Steve Miller Band, Paul McCartney and Wings, ELO, the Eagles. Right, I got my first Kansas album. I was getting into the Who, but this was probably the first really, really heavy band that I discovered. And I remember like it was yesterday. It was like an after school. A lot of times, we had just started high school, and a lot of times after school, your friends would be like, "Oh, you want to come over after school? You can take the bus back, and take my bus, you get a handwritten note, and you go and you just hang out, do whatever you do, you ride bikes, whatever." So that this one day I was going to my friend, actually, this story is 79, so I wasn't quite in high school yet, but just bear with me. So this was 1979. I was in 8th grade, going into 9th grade, and so again, same scenario. He's like, come on over after school, and let's just, hang out. I'm like, okay, cool. So take the bus, go over to Dave's house, and I remember he goes, "Oh, I have this, I have this album I want you to listen to. It's really, really cool." I'm like, all right, sounds good, because we were all just starting to get into music at the time. And I think he had gotten this at like a flea market or something like that. I forget exactly where he said he got it. But I was like, okay, so we go to his house, he puts it on, and the first opening riffs to, of course, War Pigs comes on. And I was like, wow, what in the world is this? And I remember, going through the album, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, thinking how weird that was, and Iron Man, which I instantly fell in love with. I think my favorite song on the album was Iron Man when I first heard it. And then, Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, Fairies Wear Boots, and we just kind of, wow, this is amazing. I love this. And he's like, yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? You want to trade something for it? And I was like, okay. And to this day, I don't remember what I traded him for it, but I know I got it. And the LP that he had was actually a NEMS release of Black Sabbath Paranoid. So, and I remember, opening it up and seeing that creepy picture of the band here on the CD. It's in like pink purple, but obviously was not that color on the original gatefold. And bringing it home, and I was never the same after that. And so, again, acquired it prior to my high school years, but this was my most played album, certainly for the next 2 years, and it really changed my life. Not only did it open up my world to Black Sabbath, but all sorts of other heavy bands like that as well. Heavier than Kiss, obviously, because Kiss was the heaviest thing I was listening to at the time. So what an impact it made on me. And it's funny because at the time, in 1979, when I did get this album and started getting into Black Sabbath, it was already the end of the Ozzy era. The Ozzy era was just finishing up, and Ronnie James Dio had already joined the band, and Heaven and Hell was right around the corner. So, lo and behold, not like a year later, I'm like, oh, there's a new Black Sabbath record out. Great. Again, I'm like, well, wait a second. That's not Ozzy. Because back then, no internet back then. So really, unless you were reading all the magazines, and you really didn't know what was going on. So all of a sudden, you got this new singer, a new era of Black Sabbath, which I was completely into as well. I saw them on the Mob Rules tour, and we told that story here before. But yeah, so my first pick here, day one of my most played albums during my high school years of 1980 and 1984 is Black Sabbath Paranoid, basically the one that started it all. I figured this is a really good episode that kind of kickstarted this. This was easily my most played album for the first couple of years of my high school years. But there's many more to come. There's a lot more that really kind of changed my life during the high school years, because I think most of us, when we talk about bands and albums that made a huge impact on us, it was in those high school years. Really, we were all like sponges, right? So basically, what is your life? You're going to school and living at home with your folks, right? So you got friends, you go out, ride your bikes, you go out, do you maybe towards the latter part of your high school years, you got a little part-time job, right? But what did you do? You listened to music. If you were into music, that's what you did. It's like when you hung out with your friends, you listened to music. When you were by yourself in your room, you listened to music. It's like, you absorbed these albums like sponges because you really didn't have anything else, right? You did your schoolwork and you listened to music. Maybe you watched some TV. Maybe you read some books and things like that. That's about it. It's not like today we have our own families. We have our own jobs and careers and all this, the houses and all this sort of thing. So, music, to the time that we can spend to dedicate to just, absorbing all of these albums so heavily that they become part of our DNA. It's a little harder today to do that than it was back when we were, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. So these albums will always be really special to us. It's just because that's when we got into them, right? We were at a point in our lives where you didn't have a lot of other things to do, and albums became, so important to our daily lives. And this, more than any other that I'm going to talk about this month, was the one that made the biggest impact on my life. Still to this day, it's not my favorite Black Sabbath album these days, but I will recognize this till the day I die, that this is the album that set me on my path that I've never looked back from. This is the album that changed my life. And for that, I will be eternally grateful to Tony Iommi, Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward. So Black Sabbath Paranoid is my day one pick. Stay tuned tomorrow and each and every day this month for more picks of my favorite 30 albums from the years 1980, 1984, my high school years. And I'm very curious to read your picks each and every day down in the comments below. And please do list your high school years each and every day so everybody knows. Okay, and we'll see you tomorrow morning once again for another one. Thanks for watching. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together. All the damn time. And I do want to thank everybody for really being very positive about last month's daily show. which quite frankly really surprised me because I didn't expect much in the way of, comments and views and all that. And you guys really seem to enjoy hearing about some new bands that have come up in the 2000s. And so that was, thank you all for that. That was really, really cool and very surprising to me and an eye-opener, which was, it's always good. I like to be surprised as well. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and please click that like button before you go. Very, very important. We also have the links down below for our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, as well as our merch page where you can get all sorts of cool Sea of Tranquility shirts and things like that. We've got lots of different designs, so go investigate that, check it out. And again, a month from today, Sea of Tranquility Fall Fest. October 1st at the Chance at Poughkeepsie, New York. We've got a full-day festival. First half of the afternoon is all going to be recreating in the Prague seat. Friday morning at the Fun House, the Hudson Valley Square is live on stage in front of you guys with all the panel, all the folks from the Sea of Tranquility shows will be on hand, pretty much all of them. We've got Chris Caffrey in the house from Sabotage and Trans-Siberian Orchestra doing a Q&A. We've got Andy Powell from Wishbone Ash doing a Q&A. And then we have music from Louis Nasser's band, Sonus Umbra, Epic Tantrum, great prog band from upstate New York, and of course we've got the classics. We've got the Pat Travers Band, Vanilla Fudge, and Nectar. So it's going to be a great day of prog rock and hard rock, and you don't want to miss it. So tickets are available now. Please consider coming and joining all of us. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll see you then, right? So take care, everybody. See you tomorrow morning with another of my 30 favorite albums of my high school years. It's back to school month. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.